Hello and welcome. This is Wise Woman Television with Errity Green. This is here on earth where I bring spiritual truth down to earth. And today we are talking about manifestation, turning the law of attraction on its head. First, I would encourage you to like and subscribe. Liking ensures that other people see this video, and subscribing ensures your commitment to yourself. Every time a notification pops up, you can return to these and your spiritual growth. So today's topic is on manifestation. What is this? In so many ways, we have seen manifestation discussed and talked about. And I think in general, we tend to see the same discussion or the same teachings or the same wisdom being offered. And what I think happens here generally with any spiritual teaching, with anything law of attraction, with anything manifestation, with anything embodiment, with anything feminine magnetism and all these things that we hear about, we tend to hear it from one source that then sort of trickles down, and then instead of people tuning in and perceiving their own truth and wisdom and developing their own self-evident belief system, they inherit other belief systems and viewpoints of other thought leaders. And while that's not a problem necessarily, it doesn't leave that much room for growth. And instead, we all sort of jump on the same train, even if the thought expires, becomes obsolete, is no longer relevant, so on and so forth. And so I want to offer a different perspective of manifestation probably than what you've seen before. Not entirely different, but not entirely the same. And I think it's important that we continue to check in with these concepts and whatever it is that we're learning on our spiritual path that isn't something that's self-evident. Like if it didn't come up through me and it didn't come up through my own experience or through my own body or my own body, mind, spirit, or meditation or whatever, it may not be true. I may be inheriting a belief from someone else. And I think it's worthwhile to make sure we're always revisiting our belief system and deciding anew. So that's the first thought. Now we can jump into manifestation. In the law of attraction, we tend to hear about manifestation as this thing where if we just become the frequency, boom, $1 million at our doorstep, or boom, dreamy knight in shining armor knocking on the door, and it's like all we have to do is become the frequency and that's it. And there is some truth to this. Clearly, we are in an energetic universe. So when we are at a certain vibration, as measured by frequency, that determines our filter of reality. It determines what we see, what we perceive, what we can experience, what's available to us, what's not available to us. So if we operate at a particular frequency that is mired in fear and or other emotional reactivity, which there are no bad or negative emotions, but offering an example, if we are always enraged and in fear, we are going to experience a lot of rage and fear. If we are in a place of peace and calm, we are going to experience a lot of peace and calm. If we are feeling very passionate and jazzed and zealous about life, we are going to experience a lot of passion and zest for life. So essentially, this sort of reminds us of that idea of embodiment, such that whatever we are, we experience. And in so many ways, that is true. So I am agreeing with that. And I think it's important to remember that whatever we are filtering the world with, whatever we are experiencing and perceiving the world with, that is more than likely going to be our experience, right? So if we live in fear, if we live in depression, if we live in blank, 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 whatever our experience of the world is, that's how we are going to experience it. That can be all the way up to ecstasy, joy, and bliss, and all the way down to the deepest, darkest depression or fear-based reality. And so there is truth to whatever frequency we are at, we are going to experience the world through that particular lens. And that's only possible because that's where we're at. That's all we can perceive anyway. So let me give you an example of that. So let's just say that two different people receive $1 million. Two different people receive $1 million. We haven't even talked about manifestation yet. We're starting here. And the person who is in a lower, which nothing is wrong, everyone is right where they're meant to be, everyone is right where they're meant to be in their own journey, all acceptance here, no judgment, okay? But let's say low frequency because they would be lower on the vibrational level. So not low isn't bad or low isn't not good enough. We're all human. We've all been low, so there's no judgment. But the person who receives $1 million and they are in a low vibration, they are going to likely be scared of that money, not know what to do with it, a little bit hesitant, a little bit reluctant. They might be overthinking about it. They might be wondering if it's right for them, if they are good enough to deserve this. And then a number of things could happen in terms of how they respond to this $1 million. They might try to go find someone and give it back to the owner. They might go to the bank and present it to them. They might find other ways to get rid of it. They might start spending it incessantly. Let's just say because they're in that lower vibration, they're in a place of, again, let's just say fear and anxiety, some of these things that I've already conveyed. Let's just say they have some addictions too, because, right, they haven't processed the emotions that are within their mind, body, spirit. So now they have all these emotions that have gone unprocessed. Therefore, they have addictions that are numbing those emotions. So let's just say they start spending that money on their addictions. And then they're also in a relationship that is hot and cold and maybe not totally toxic and dysfunctional, but not totally healthy either. And it's up and down, and it's emotionally volatile. And the sex is great, but everything else sucks. They were truly honest with themselves. So what they do on a random day is they go use some of that money to buy an engagement ring that the gal is later going to give back to them or just take when she leaves the relationship. So you see how this can happen. The $1 million will land in the lap of someone who cannot fully receive it or be with it or experience it. Even though it's $1 million, it doesn't matter. It's empty without spiritual wealth. And I talk a lot about this on my channel and on Facebook and on Instagram. So I encourage you to follow along with that so you can learn how to not only create spiritual wealth, true wealth, but also bring that into form in your physical reality. That's the work that I do, generally speaking. However, I work most specifically with women leaders to support them to bring their spiritual wealth, or to experience that first and foremost, but also to bring that into physical form and to do so at the next level and the next level and the next level. All of that said, spiritual wealth is required to actually feel and experience and receive any wealth, material wealth, or any accomplishments or successes. You'll find that, again, if you are at a low vibration, that you can't truly celebrate or receive or experience your successes and accomplishments. So that's person A, right? That's how they received and experienced that $1 million. Okay? They weren't in a very spiritually wealthy place, so it wasn't truly honored, and it wasn't truly respected, and it wasn't truly celebrated. And while they enjoyed that $1 million, a lot of it was spent very frivolously, very quickly. They didn't know what to do with it. A lot of it was spent mired in anxiety and overthinking and overwhelmed and unsure about what to do with it or if they even wanted it. It's a lot of responsibility, right? So I'm giving you this full picture. Person B, let's just say they are of a high vibrational frequency. We're not going to say they're enlightened because that's few and far between on planet Earth at this time. So we'll just say they're at a high vibrational frequency. They receive that $1 million. They fall onto their knees in gratitude. They feel they're oozing gratitude. And from that place, they're oozing compassion and generosity. Suddenly, they're tapped in and tuned into their most generous spirit. They decide that they're going to invest this into a business and or nonprofit that then gives back. They decide they want to use this so that it can continue to pay forward, so that it becomes a legacy that continues to impart on future generations. So yes, this business or this nonprofit will serve them, but it's also going to serve all. And so they decide, this is going to fund my dream. It's going to invest in my dream. And my dream also, of course, because every true dream also gives back and serves the whole, serves the all, one and all. And so they invest a huge, larger chunk of this money in their dream business that then gives back and makes a difference in the lives of all others. So this business goes on to affect the direct recipients of that business or nonprofit, as well as the ripple effect, because those people are a part of families and communities and neighborhoods and our global community. So then that ripples out. And then this person also, let's say that they decide to use the small portion of that money, that they decide to pursue their dream of a homestead or a farm. And the next thing you know, they have animals on their land that they are taking care of very mindfully. and they are treating that land with great respect, and they are praying on that land, and they are revering that land, and they are taking care of that land, right? And they're only giving it the right kind of conscious products that support that land and that support those animals, and they treat the animals humanely, they treat their guests humanely. And it doesn't mean that they're perfect, right? They're not enlightened. They're going to have really fucking shitty days, and they might spend a couple of those dollars on a drink at the bar or on a nice TV, right? Because we're all human, and because they might have still some of their own wounding and conditioning patterns where they feel like they have to fill an inner void with something material. Not always, but I'm going with the majority of many people, because I am a minimalist myself. I couldn't care less about any of that, but many people, they love their thing. So I'm giving you a general example. So along the way, they might do a couple this or a couple that, some mishaps or mistakes. We'll say there's really no such thing as mistake, as long as we're learning from everything and it's serving our growth, which everything does on this planet. That's why we're here. So you can see a very clear difference here between person A and person B and how they experience $1 million. So vibration does matter, frequency does matter. And yet I think the part that we miss when it comes to manifestation is it's not just about frequency and vibration or embodiment or where you're at on the spectrum of emotion or emotional health or actualization, right? It also matters what you do with it, right? So for me, manifestation is about essence and embodiment, aka vibration, aka who you're being, the quality of your character, the traits and qualities that you embody, the traits and qualities that you stand for. Yes, manifestation matters in that regard for all the reasons I shared, right? And expression is another part of manifestation, taking action, okay? That is also part of the story when it comes to manifestation. So person A and person B, they both chose very differently, right? They both made different choices, took different actions, expressed their $1 million of their wealth in different ways, and that's a part of the manifestation conversation that I tend not to see much of. We talk so much about just getting in alignment, but we don't say what happens after that. And oftentimes, of course, when we are in full embodiment or we are in alignment, right, we are going to make the most appropriate choices for ourselves and for that vibrational level. And yet, I think it's important to give some attention to that piece so that people are aware that it's not just about sitting in a corner, meditating ourselves into pure bliss, which isn't really possible, but it's not just about that and just embodying and visualizing and waiting and embodying and visualizing and waiting. That's not how this works. What it is, that's probably actually for a different video. Maybe I will make a self-actualization video. So, marked, I will do it. So I'm not going to get into the full process, but it isn't just meditating yourself into bliss, into a higher vibration, and then visualizing what you want and it lands on your doorstep. There's so much more to the story, including saying yes to opportunities that show up. So let me offer you an example. Let's say person B who decided they were going to invest, but they didn't yet know what. They knew they were supposed to use this money and use it for good and pay it forward and have it grow and build so they can create this dream in the world that serves themselves and all, but they didn't know what it was they were meant to invest in. Let's say that wasn't a part of their original idea or original template or inspiration. So let's say they set the intention to receive an opportunity that they can invest in. Now let's say opportunity 1 comes by, but they're too scared, they don't pull the trigger. Opportunity 2 comes by, they're not really sure, they don't pull the trigger. Opportunity 3 comes by, again, they're reluctant, they don't pull the trigger. Because again, I didn't go with someone who's fully enlightened, I went with someone who still has their own humanity that they're walking with and experiencing the world through. And so they've said no to all of their opportunities. So for a time, opportunities may disappear, and then they wonder, well, what was all this for, and is it really going to happen for me, and is that opportunity going to come? But it's because if you just spend your life away in meditation and visualizing, and you can't say yes to the opportunities that come to you, aka make a new choice, aka expression, aka new response, right, which is the other piece of manifestation, you're never going to be able to create what it is that you want, right? Another example, it's very rare, let's just say you want to manifest a new car. It's very rare that you are going to get a paycheck in the mail that says, here's your new car, come to your local dealership and pick out your new car. No, it's much more going to be something like an opportunity comes to you, or a person comes to you, or an idea comes to you, or an inspiration comes to you. And when you do that and follow up on that, you might create something. It might be a business, again, or a contribution, or a way to make income, and then you make a bunch more money, right? And then now you have money that you then take to the dealership and you buy the car. That's much more the process of manifestation in our physical world and reality than it is the new car landing at your doorstep. That's not what manifestation really is in the third dimension. And I want to share this because if manifestation was to look like it does in the spiritual realm, we would be in the spiritual realm and it would show up instantaneously, right? We think of the car, boom, we have the car. We think of the dreamy partner, boom, we have the dreamy partner. But it's a little bit different because of 3D, because of the natural laws here, because of the universal agreements that we've made, because of the personal agreements that we've made with ourselves, the soul contracts that we have, because of the collective agreements we've made culturally and societally, that we get a new car in a dealership. It doesn't just show up at our doorstep. That's a collective agreement that will affect our manifestation. And it doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. It just means it's going to look different than something, bam, at our doorstep. So manifestation is a process of, yes, stepping into the right frequency. We could call that mindset, into the right embodiment, into the character or the qualities or the traits that you truly believe that and know that you already are, right? Because we never have to become something that we're not. We're always just shedding things that we are not to become more of what we are. And that's our spiritually wealthy truth. That's our spiritual nature. And that's where we are more available and more powerful when it comes to creating what we want and desire and dream of in this life. So it is partly that, and it's partly taking action, making new choices or making choices and expressing ourselves in alignment with this person now that we are embodying, with the spiritual wealth that we are embodying. So there's two pieces to the puzzle. We tend to not hear about taking action in alignment with. We tend to hear more about just becoming or embodying or meditating and visualizing. Oftentimes we forget the more masculine side of the manifestation, which is the expression and the action and the response and the choice and the thoughts, words, and actions and everything that's being expressed that then must be in alignment with who we are. And that's what creates physical form. That's what takes something that's of spiritual wealth inside of us to physical form outside of us. That's the work of manifestation, and it involves both essence or embodiment as well as expression. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate your company, and I look forward to the next episode on Here on Earth.